All right, how's everybody doing this evening? My name is Kent, the channel is EOS San Diego, and of course, I make videos about the EOS blockchain. And I noticed EOS had a little bit of a bump today in price. I think I saw some green numbers for the first time in quite a while, so I do see some upward price. Hopefully it continues. I don't know if it will or not. But if you're trying to pick the bottom, don't try it, because you'll never pick the bottom. There's no way to pick the bottom on something like this. There's no way to say, I'm going to wait till the very bottom, I'm going to buy, and then I'm going to be, everything after that's going to be profit. You'll never hit the bottom. You'll never pick the bottom. There's no way of knowing when the bottom is going to be. So if that is your strategy, I would give it up and I would just pick a point and buy, because I do believe it's going to go higher, and it has gone down a lot. So obviously, better to buy in times when everything's down than when everything's going up. So this is a good time, I think, to buy in. And a lot of people are calling that. That is, you know, if you're a believer in the blockchain, if you're a believer in EOS, if you're a believer in the future technology, then this wouldn't be a bad time to enter. But if you're waiting for that precise point to buy at the very bottom, I don't think that that's achievable. I don't think it's possible, and it never ever works. And I do believe EOS will become I believe it will be the technology that runs the future. And I believe that for one reason, and one reason in particular. I believe that there has to be some way of reversing blocks. And I know that's not a very popular belief or stance with a lot of purists in the blockchain. And if you spend more time on GitHub than any place else, then you're probably not going to agree with me, because the real purists don't like reversible blocks. But reversible blocks is the only way you can do the blockchain, simply because it's a novelty if you don't do it that way. No one is going to put their life savings into something, or have their life savings in some place where, for whatever reason, they could wake up tomorrow morning, it could be gone, and they could have no way of getting any kind of redress on that property. It could just be gone, and there's nothing they can do. People will not sleep at night with those kinds of conditions. No way for that to happen. So the blockchain has to have some sense of reversibility, has to have some way of governance, it has to have some way to redress people's problems. If it doesn't, then it'll never ever be mainstream. That's why we have courts. That's why we have a system of jurisprudence in this country, or in most every country. Or you have chaos. You have anarchy and you have chaos. There has to be some way of righting the wrong. If you can't right the wrong, then nobody's going to play. And that's why I believe EOS will be the blockchain that ends up being future technology. As in Ethereum and Bitcoin, they do not have reversible blocks. There's no way to get your money back. If you do something dumb and you lose your money, you can't get it back. And I've lost money on the blockchain, and I think most people have lost money on the blockchain. I've had problems getting money back. And there's no other way to do it. I mean, I've lost money in Bitcoin, I've lost money in Ethereum by doing stuff I shouldn't have done. And there's nothing you can do. You can't get those blocks back. In fact, my son lost some money on a blockchain one time, and you can actually see the transaction where he lost the money. And you can't get it back. I mean, it's irreversible. Until you remedy that problem, until that problem is fixed, then you will never have something that will get wide mass adoption. So that's why I believe that the EOS blockchain would be superior over others, because Dan Larimer has achieved a way of doing something that has some ability to reverse blocks. You've got to be able to reverse blocks, or this just won't happen. The other thing is, this is already done. There's no difference from blockchain right now than the normal banking system that we have. The banking system we have now is all digital. It's all zeros and ones. It's all on banks across the world. So the shift to blockchain is not going to be a difficult shift. It'll be an inevitable shift that's taking place right now. That infrastructure is being built out. And while I was thinking about this today, I was thinking back to when I was a kid. And I remember my parents being farmers, and very frugal with their money were dead against borrowing money. They didn't like the idea of borrowing money, and they didn't trust banks. Being in the Midwest, being from a farm, they were always anti-borrowing money, anti-banks, because they always looked at, the fact that that's not a good thing to do, which was wise. This was a very frugal way to live. But I remember one day when I was a kid, and I grew up in the 60s, my parents got a Visa in the mail. In fact, I remember this. I don't know why I remember it. It's just so weird that I remember this. And it's a true story. My parents got a Visa card in the mail. And I can't remember if it was the 60s or 70s, but I was a young kid, very young. And I was sitting in the back seat of our car, our Chrysler Imperial, big car, remember it. My parents were in the front seat and I was in the back seat. And my parents got this Visa card in the mail. And my dad looked at this and they kind of knew, I think, what it was. They knew it was plastic. And they knew it was a new form of borrowing money, or a new form of getting a balance and then having the balance paid off every 30 days or so. They kind of understood the concept, so they got this, and they looked at the card. My dad immediately said it was trash. And he said, "This is trash. We would never do this. We'll never use this plastic. This is garbage." And I remember my dad laying the Visa card down in the middle of the seat, and I must have been sitting there someplace, and I grabbed the card and started to twist it around and play with it as a kid would do, because obviously it was plastic and it was cool, and I thought, I'm just going to mess around with this thing. And my dad immediately said, "Stop it! Don't do that!" And it was funny because I still remember this, because even though I knew he didn't like the idea of Visa, MasterCard, he didn't like the idea of plastic, he didn't like the idea of borrowing money, he still thought this was something that maybe he should not destroy right away. That maybe there's a chance we could use this. Maybe there's a chance in the future we could use this plastic. There might be emergencies for this plastic, this idea of plastic. So don't destroy it yet. So he got mad at me because I was trying to destroy it. Because he just told me it was garbage, and I was a young kid, and I thought, well, since it's garbage, I'll just play around with it and have a good time with it and twist it and bend it. And, it was fun because you couldn't tear it. So I was just bending it, twisting, having a good time with it. My dad got really mad at me. I still remember it. That's probably why I remember it, because he got really mad at me. And I knew, intuitively as a kid, that the reason he got mad at me is because he thought he might want to use it in the future. Even though they were dead against it, and they didn't like it, they thought it was, something they would never do. It went against every principle and everything they ever believed in as far as money was concerned. He still thought there was a chance they might still use this plastic. Well, that's kind of the way this is right now. I mean, there's a lot of people will sit here and trash Bitcoin, and they'll trash the blockchain, and they'll trash EOS. But there's a little bit of this thing that they think they find very intriguing. There's a little bit of this thing they may still think would be something they may use in the future. And that's the way it's going right now. There's enough excitement about this, and there's enough intrigue about it, that people aren't willing to just throw it away. Just like my dad was with the Visa card. He knew he didn't like it, but he didn't want to throw it away. Well, this is the way Bitcoin and EOS and Ethereum are right now. A lot of people don't like it, but it's not worth throwing away right now. They're going to find a use for it in the future. So stay tuned. But please don't pick the bottom. If you're thinking about a lower than $1, $50, $60, wherever it's at right now, it's going to be hard to pick. It's going to be hard to find an absolute bottom of this. So, and I think that it may go lower. I mean, in my opinion, it is. I mean, if I was sitting here and I was trying to pick dead bottom, I'd be hanging on. But I don't know how much I'd hang on for, and I don't even know if I would try to do that. I would just try to pick a place to enter. And I'm not a big dollar cost averaging person either. I've never seen it work. I mean, everybody talks dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost average. I've tried it before. It's never worked for me. Every time I dollar cost average, I end up buying it at the highest. I don't know. I mean, and then, for some reason I run out of money when it goes down. So it's like if I'm dollar cost averaging, I've never had that, what you call that incredible discipline to do that. It's like I start thinking, I'm going to dollar cost average in, and I start buying, and I think, this is a good price, I ought to buy a little bit more. I end up buying everything at the very top of the market, and then when it starts to go down, I never have any money to buy because I've already spent all my money because I'm just not disciplined. If you're going to be dollar cost averaging in at this point, you got to be very disciplined, because because you're going to see some big bumps. And when you see some big bumps, it's going to be hard not to buy a bunch, because if you do a little bit pretty good one day and you say, well, next week I'll put a little bit more in, you're going to be saying, no, it's going to be a lot higher, I can't do that. I've never seen dollar cost averaging work because nobody's disciplined enough to do that. It just doesn't work. So anyway, just pick a point, jump in, and like I say, it'll work out, because I know that people are enough involved, enough infrastructure being built on blockchain, that this is future technology. And of course, the ability to reverse blocks has to be there, or people will not invest in it. You will not lay awake at night worried about if somebody stole your money. You just won't do it. People will not do it. There's no way people will do that, no matter how secure it is. As far as technology is concerned, people will not sleep at night if they know they cannot get some sort of remedy for some sort of mistake they've made, or some sort of mistake in the blockchain. There has to be a remedy, and if that's not there, it won't work. I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.